Dr. Mooli Brog, is PhD in sociology. His research focuses on issues of collective memory and cultural interpretation of sacred places. So the microphone is yours, Mooli. Remember, you have 7 minutes.
My topic dealing with a very sensitive issue and may cause people to feel uncomfortable, so I apologize in advance. I thanks Rony for being my commander-in-chief on the slides. So please. In January 1970s, the Knesset approved the Israeli Defense Forces decoration law. The choice of the yellow color to mark the IDF highest decoration for heroism, which you can see on the right-hand side of the slide, was, and I quote, a counterbalance to the attempt to humiliate Jews by this color since the 7th century, and in accordance with Herzl's suggestion that the Jewish award for heroism should be marked in yellow. During the first 40 years of the State of Israel, Holocaust memory in the IDF focused on commander-led discussions and sporadic ceremonies on Holocaust Memorial Day. This was all profoundly changed between the early 1990s in the aftermath of the First Intifada and 2004, the end of the second one. I would argue that by linking the Holocaust atrocity in Europe to the Israeli-Arab conflict, the IDF has done 3 things. A, helped framing the national military clash as a religious one. B, supported the symbolic image of the Palestinians as though they are an existential threat similar to the Nazis. And C, enable a patriotic discourse in which the fallen soldiers, once perceived the hero as heroes who sacrificed their life in the defense of their country, are now seen as victims who were killed in Kiddush Hashem in a sacred war to secure their promised land. For nearly 50 years, a major part of the IDF efforts has been dedicated to the police-style civil security missions in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and to action against terror organizations living there and in Lebanon. The IDF found itself in an apologetic position vis-a-vis the emergent comparison voiced in public discourse and in the media here and around the world between the IDF harsh action and those of the Nazis' army. By the way, IDF stands for Israeli Defense Forces. In addition, the global socioeconomic change of the late 1980s and the optimistic peace atmosphere, which followed the Oslo Accord, contributed to the rapidly growing brain drain from the IDF to the civil business world, a phenomenon which has only intensified since. Today, only 1 of 3 eligible youngsters are actually drafted, and the rate of motivation to serve in combat units has dropped to its lowest point ever, less than 65% of the qualified soldiers. These arguments, enlisted in the struggle with the frustration situation, are taken from the moral values arsenal of society, usually found in its historical narrative, religion, or ideological faith. The IDF started searching for new bases for legitimation, and Holocaust memory was found to be the most effective one. Consciously, the IDF saw a need to publish a special guidance booklet called Inculcating the Holocaust Memory in the IDF, as you can see on the screen. Just note the two orange phrases, what is it all about and what is the goal? Consequently, the IDF saw a need to publish the outcome was of great significance. For instance, every year during the last 2 decades, there were about 100,000 military personnel that took part in educational programs conducted by Yad Vashem and other Holocaust memorial institutions. Or each year, for over 20 years now, the IDF allocates millions of US dollars to run the program of Eidim B'Madim, witnesses in uniform, through which 2,500 to 3,000 high-ranking officers and decorated soldiers, as well as members of the bereaved family, travel together with a survivor guide to Holocaust-related sites in Poland. The rationale was, and I quote, when they get off the plane that brought them back from the death camp, they would understand why they should sign on for a military career. So explained Colonel Elazar Stern, who initiated this program. And he added, I quote, by coming here to Poland, we have added the death camp to our military heritage sites and made the Warsaw Ghetto our legacy. At the end of this rite of passage, the participants become witnesses in uniform, thus embodying human skeletons who survived the horrors, wrapped in uniforms of the strongest army in the Middle East. This dichotomy is a pertinent aspect of the everyday mission executed by the soldiers in the West Bank. 1 minute, they are powerful, in control, and the next one, they are too weak to carry out their missions. Their sense of identity with the fate of the Holocaust victims provides an operational advantage for them, in that their sense of victimization could serve as a kind of a moral bulletproof vest in the harsh confrontations with the Palestinian population. In moment of crisis, when in difficult moral dilemma, soldiers can metaphorically wear the yellow patch on their chest and become the young child from the ghetto. Thus, any violence act on their part is deemed as a victim's counteraction against the Palestinians' oppressor. To conclude this presentation, I can paraphrase, no, leave it please. I can paraphrase Samuel Johnson's famous quote by suggesting that the Auschwitz has unfortunately become the last refuge of the Israeli patriot. Thank you.